So good morning, everybody. My name is Brett Janelle, and this is my partner Annette Janelle, and we're your hosts today. Welcome to the Retired Living Truth series. And today's topic is finding the truth about untapped resources. And let me just make sure, I still see people getting on, so that's great. So welcome, everybody. And so today's topic came about because many people have told us about all the wonderful resources that we have in the community. However, not everyone is aware of them, and we do have so many wonderful resources available. So we thought what we would do today is have some of our sponsors talk about resources that they've researched and know about, and some of it's come from what you as attendees have told us about. And we're just going to go through and share a whole range of different resources that are available. So what I'd like to do is just jump first in and introduce each of our speakers that are joining us today. And if I could start with you, Brianna, could you just tell the audience who you are, the organization you're with, and a little bit about what you do each day helping our community?
Yeah, so my name is Bree, and I work with Providence Health Plan as a care coordinator. So my role is to help, our members connect to resources and just help them stay healthy and work on their healthcare goals.
Wonderful. Welcome, Brianna. And Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie Wood. I'm with Mason McDuffie Mortgage Corporation. I am a residential loan officer doing all sorts of residential loans, including reverse mortgages, which are my favorite, I think. And, and so that's what I do. And I counsel a lot of people in their financing and help them with the right choice as far as financing their home.
Wonderful. Welcome, Debbie. And Kerry.
Hi, I'm Carrie McKinney with Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, and like Debbie, I do reverse mortgages, which are my favorites. Mutual of Omaha Mortgage does do all kinds of mortgages, but I'm a reverse mortgage specialist helping you tap into the equity available in your home.
Thank you, Kerry, and welcome. So what I'd like to do is for us to dive right in and just talk about the different categories of resources that we're going to talk about today. Let me just bring that up. So we've picked a series of different categories we're going to talk about, and they are education, finance and legal, food, health and medical, social and entertainment, transportation, and volunteering. So we've managed to get most of the things in those, and then we have one last one, which is other. Some things we just couldn't fit into that. And so what we're going to do is going to go through each category and talk about resources. And I don't want this to be overwhelming. What we would like you to do is just to listen and be aware of the resources. And then what we're going to do tomorrow morning around this time is we're going to get an email out to everyone who's on the call with a link to the website that'll have all of the resources. So you'll have a handout you can download and print that'll have the resources, the phone numbers, the website, and so forth, so you have more information. So I'd just encourage you today just to kind of listen and then maybe just jot down something that sticks out for you that you weren't aware of that might be of benefit to you. And then when you get the handout tomorrow, once we kind of type it all up this afternoon, then you'll be able to quickly, easily access that. So everything we talk about will be in the handout that you receive tomorrow. And so as we go along, our speakers will talk about the resources they know of, but what we'd like to do is invite you, our attendees, to also make suggestions or give input in terms of things that you might be aware of relevant to that category. And we'll do that in one of two ways. One, if you would like just to type into the chat box, we'll monitor that. So here in Zoom, you should see somewhere on your screen the ability to open up a chat window and type in. And if you have questions as we go along about something someone has said and you want to know more or want clarification, if you use the Q&A, the question and answer box, you can type into there any questions you have, and we'll periodically look at that and then have the appropriate person perhaps provide more information as appropriate. And if you are called in on a phone, I see there's a couple of people who have dialed in, we'll unmute you and you can actually give your suggestion or ask your question as we go along. And the way you do that is by pressing *9 on your phone. So *9 allows us to know that you have something you would like to give input on. And for those who would prefer just to speak to us, which we always encourage and love, you can use the raise hand. So on your Zoom screen, you should see there's a raise hand. In fact, can we just have everybody do that now? Find the raise hand and click on it. Yeah, there we go. Lots of hands. We like seeing lots of hands. Audience participation. So much better when we're at our physical venue. Great. So you can lower your hand. So if you raise your hand, then we'll unmute you and get your input. And I'll lower your hand after you've done that. And I see a couple of people still have their hands up. So I'm going to just lower all hands. Perfect. Just reset that. Great. So I think, did we cover everything to get started?
I think we did, yeah.
Okay, great.
Right.
So let's just jump in. In fact, what I'd like to do is get rid of these slides. I'd like to have it so everybody can see each other. So let me just quickly do that. Perfect. So now you get us full screen. So let's start with our first category, which is education. Who would like to take that away?
Well, let's start with the easy one. Truckee Meadows Community College has programs for seniors, and they also have financial resources for seniors. So if you think, oh, I'd really like to take a class, but I don't know if I want to invest the $35 to do it, there are scholarships available.
Wonderful.
And
So
there's lots of
recommend-
good stuff. It's not just training for a career. There are lots of good courses over there of interest to seniors.
Yeah, they have specific ones from seniors, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Kerry.
And that actually, I'll like to follow up with that with the OLLI, OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute. I know a lot of our attendees are already members. If you are not aware of it, it is a phenomenal way to just be educated about what's available. You can actually teach there if you choose to. You can volunteer there. You can take classes. I believe the cost is $55 a year.
Yeah, last time I looked, yeah.
But they also do have scholarships for those that qualify. So check into it. If you're interested in learning more about it, it's definitely well worth it.
Yeah, and they have a whole range of topics on all sorts of subjects. So if you're bored and want to get engaged in something, and just look at their catalogue, and there's definitely going to be something that is of interest. And as Annette said, don't let finance be a barrier for you or someone else who might be interested. They do provide scholarships where they'll pay for that because they want everyone to be involved. What else?
Oh, the library. The library is fantastic. They've got some ebooks. So if you want, so right now the libraries are closed due to COVID, but you can still go online and check out books. As long as you've got a library card, you can check out a book for 3 weeks, and it can be downloaded onto your Kindle or whatever electronic device you've got, your computer.
Phone, tablet.
Tablet, yes, exactly. And you get to keep it for 3 weeks, and then it's automatically returned back, so you don't have to worry about trying to get the book back to the library.
And they also have audio books. So if you prefer to listen rather than read, they have many books available in audio where you download it and can just listen to the book.
And magazines, newspapers, if you would like to look at the Wall Street Journal, for instance, you can do that through the library.
Actually, I'm just curious. Could people raise their hands if they were aware of that, the great resource that the library offers electronically at the moment? Yeah, maybe a third. Oh, no, quite a few people. Okay,
Yeah,
so maybe
great.
half and half don't. So wonderful. Excellent. What else? So Sanford Center for the Aging is another great resource here in the community, part of the University of Nevada, Reno. And they have a wellness program that's made up of many different classes, diabetes prevention, chronic pains, self-management, Fit and Strong, which is a great series of classes, and they're doing that virtually at the moment. They have a caregivers workshop. They have another class for preventing falls, fall prevention, and they're all pretty much, I think they're all free. And they're doing them all virtually at the moment, so that's another great resource. What else?
Well, and then also the Retired Living True series,
yeah,
what
of
you're on
course.
right now. We often get people asking us about past topics or disappointed that they missed out on a topic. We have now put everything online, so it's on our website for the past, we've been doing this for 4 years now, so we've videotaped pretty much all of them, not all of them, but most of them. They have been videotaped and they are available on our website.
Excellent. So if anyone, there were a couple of hands raised and I lowered them because I weren't sure if they were still there from me asking a question. But if you have anything you would like to contribute, now would be a great time to raise your hand and we'll unmute you or type into the chat box. And I see Tom has given us a great suggestion that we didn't cover. Tom mentioned that we can check out books and pick them up at the window. They have a drive-through at the library. So I'm not sure if that's all libraries or a central location. Maybe, Tom, you could just type in more in terms of which library or libraries. But yeah, that's a great idea. So if you prefer having a physical book in your hand, being able to just go and pick it up through the drive-through. So that's great.
Yep.
So I don't see anything for education, but if you do have something, let us know. Yes, I do. Let me just unmute. Is it Anthea? Did you have something?
Yeah, the picking up at the library is only open a few days a week from like 10 until 2.
10 till 2.
Yeah, and not every day. So you have to check with each library.
Okay, so maybe it's different libraries on different days.
Yeah.
Do you know which library are you familiar with that allows you to pick up?
Northwest, and I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but I don't remember now.
Yeah, wonderful. So Northwest for sure. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And yeah, so Tom's typed back and said he knows, yeah, the Northwest Library on Robb Drive is one of them. So great, thank you. So let's move on to our next category, which is financial and legal. So who would like to start? Let's start with you, Bree.
Yeah, I can start. So a lot of you might not be aware that just because you're on Medicare, you can also qualify for Medicaid. So you can be dually eligible, and the nice thing about Medicaid is it can help cover the copays that Medicare doesn't pick up. So if like copays are keeping you from getting something done that you need done, like an MRI or a surgery or just an x-ray, something like that, you can also qualify for a low income subsidy or extra help. Extra help basically helps you cover the cost of Medicare prescriptions. So, you know, drug costs are always going up and they add up if you're on multiple medications. So you can always qualify for extra help and see if you qualify. And just because if you don't qualify for Medicaid or extra help 1 year, that doesn't mean you don't qualify for the rest of your life. So you can keep applying, and the rules change, and how much it takes for you to qualify changes every year. So keep asking, because you might qualify next year.
Right. Well, Veterans Aid and Attendance is also a really good one. So if you are a vet or you are a spouse of a vet, there are definitely guidelines, but it is well worth checking in to see if you qualify, because they will help with in-home care. They'll help with assisted living if you need to move into an assisted living community. So it's just checking into it to make sure, because there are the guidelines as far as when you actually served or when your spouse served as to the qualifications.
Yeah, and a great resource, a great sponsor that we have. So you can go to the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they'll help with that, direct you in the right direction. But if you need to complete an application and determine if you qualify, one of our sponsors, the Schultz Law Group, specialize in helping, and it's totally free. There's no charge at all. But they're really good at helping, working out whether you qualify or not. So if you look on our on the website or in the handout, it'll have the Schultz Law Group, and Rich and Melissa over there and their team. They're really good at helping with that. So another great resource. What else? I know, Bree, when we were talking, you were talking about, was it CSA, community something? What was that?
Community Services Agency. They help with tax season. So if you need help filling out your taxes around tax time, they do partner with the business college at UNR. So you can call and find out when they're having those appointments and team up with someone to help you complete your taxes for free. And then they also have a weatherization program. It's a one-page application and to see if you qualify, and they basically go and look at your house and can see how they can reduce your utility bills by providing energy conservation measures.
Wonderful, fantastic. I was wondering where you were going with weatherization.
Like, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Fantastic. And Kerry, what about reverse mortgage? That's a big part of an untapped resource for many people who aren't aware of what that even is. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. If you think of your house, how much money you've put into your house, is it time now to take some money out? And reverse mortgage is a great way to do it. It's the most flexible mortgage program. It is tightly regulated by the federal government with many protections built in for you. For example, did you know you can never be upside down if you have a reverse mortgage? So that's why those are some of the reasons that Debbie and I consider those such great resources. for seniors just to tap into that equity.
You got our attention, I think, Debbie, with a barking dog in the background.
I got your attention. How?
With the barking dog?
Oh, well, that's the one thing I cannot control. So she'll settle down in a second, but she wants to be part of this. So what are you going to do?
Well, I think
But
she
the
heard that
reverse
keyword,
mortgage
reverse
is-
mortgage, which you do, and that would have yeah, got her attention. Oh, reverse mortgage, here it is.
Yeah, it's a familiar phrase to her.
Yeah.
So, it's like treats and things like that. So anyway, though, the reverse mortgage, I can't talk more about it than, or better about it. It is just a lifesaver for some seniors. And you don't have to be in dire straits. I mean, I have done reverse mortgages for people that are actually quite well off, and they choose to use the equity in their home to reinvest for some reason, or maybe to buy another piece of property. So there is 100 reasons why one would want a reverse mortgage, and it absolutely is an untapped resource, and one that, as Carrie said, it is highly regulated. So, and it is federally insured by HUD. It's a government insured loan. So it's something that people should educate themselves about, even if they don't have a personal need or want. They may have other family members or friends. So it's important to educate yourself about a reverse mortgage, and don't just accept the myths that you hear on TV.
Certainly lots of,
and one of the things,
so if people wanted to learn more, they could definitely reach out to either of you, Carrie, or
Absolutely.
happy
Yeah.
to.
absolutely, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What else in this topic? Finance.
Oh, legal services.
Legal,
yeah.
yes, please.
If you have, a lot of times it's hard to find a good attorney. It's hard to know what questions to ask. And there are a couple of legal services. There's a senior law project out at the senior center at Wells and Ninth, and also the Nevada Legal Services. Both of them are available. Just type that in, Senior Law Project, Reno, Nevada, or Senior Law Services, or Nevada Legal Services, Reno, Nevada. And they can connect you with the right resource. Because a lot of times you may think, I don't even know what kind of attorney to talk to, or what questions to ask. So they're very helpful with that. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV, but if you haven't looked into a trust, it's worthwhile having that conversation with an estate attorney about that, just to protect your estate from probate. I'm tax phobic, and the last thing I want is the probate court to take a third of my estate. So looking into estates is something good for seniors to consider.
Thanks, Carrie. And just to add on to that, one, we have a sponsor, Schultz Law Group, that I already mentioned. They're a great resource if you have questions or just need to know whether you want a will or trust. And usually we have a panel each year, a seminar that's kind of related to that topic in some way. But another great resource in the community that people may not be aware of, and I know some of our attendees, I think that's how Annette and I learned about it, is the Community Foundation of Western Nevada. They provide a free series. I think they do it twice a year, titled Family Estate Planning Series. And it helps you understand better what a will is, a trust, and all the things that go around that, health directive and so forth. And I think it's done over maybe 6 or 8 weeks. Each week is a different part of the overall series, a different topic. And I believe, it's free to anyone in the community. It's sponsored by PBS and the Community Foundation of Western Nevada. So we'll have that in the handout as well. And I think they have one coming up actually, or maybe it's already started, and they're doing it virtually this time. Normally you go there and sit through it. So that's another great one.
Just one thing I might add, if you're part of the Renown system, your insurance, if you're part of that, they will give you these free handouts that will walk you through these advanced directives and things like that. So Renown's a very good resource, actually. So if your doctor happens to be through Renown, you can ask them for that document.
Thank you, Debbie. I think, Brandy, you guys have something similar at Prominence, don't you? For members as well, if you're part of the Prominence.
Yeah, most of your primary care offices actually have some form of a resource for that. So I just say ask your primary care. So Renown is great, St. Mary's, most primary care offices have something available to help you that's free, just to go over like what your wishes are, completing a pulse, anything like that.
I think that's a great point you bring up, Brianna. It's just being willing to ask whoever you talk to, where could I find information on whatever? Because there are so many great resources in the community. And speaking of untapped resources, I wanted you just to touch on, Debbie, that there are untapped resources that maybe we shouldn't tap into. What are perhaps some of those?
Oh, absolutely. I was doing some research and you know, we've heard about these things, but it never occurred to me to make it a point. Um, it's so easy to take a cash advance against your credit card, and that, you know, but you're going to pay 25% interest to pay it back. So that is something absolutely to avoid. Car title loans. You know, if you know, you can get a loan against your car title and you're going to pay 300% interest. I mean, people don't even think about that, but it's ridiculous. Payday loans, they're almost impossible to get paid off. Pawn shop loans, you know, you can take your family heirloom into a pawn shop, but you're never going to get it paid off, and you're basically giving it away. And then the one thing too, if you use a broker, if you have a brokerage account, be so careful of your broker promising you really high returns by, you know, because the Ponzi scheme is a perfect example. So don't, you know, always question and get second opinions about that. There's advertisings on TV that I've seen recently encouraging people to sell their whole life insurance policy. Rather than just sell it because you could use the money for something else, talk to the agent about possible uh, uh, what they call a limited loan against it. Sometimes you can just borrow money against your life insurance policy without having to surrender it. So, and then also the one that that I love to see on TV, I guess love is not the right word, but a lot of us set up our annuity so that we can withdraw from it to supplement our monthly income, and that's a good thing. But don't sell it to J.G. Whitworth, as the advertisement suggests that you do. You're really, what that is you're selling those future payments, and they'll give you a lump sum for it, but you're giving up so much. These are just things that we are inundated with advertisement all the time, and it's so easy to do it. And those are things to avoid. There's better ways to get money than that, for certain. So please stay away from those things.
Thanks, Debbie. I think that's really good advice, especially at the moment in an environment of low returns. People are looking, well, where else can I, you know, what can I do with my money? Where can I get? Yeah, so yeah, talk to multiple people before going down one of those paths. So yeah, let's just open it up. Does anyone have anything that they would like to contribute under finance or legal resources here in the community that people may not be aware of? And again, raise hand or *9 if you're on a phone, or feel free to type it into either the chat box. The chat box is probably the best. Let's keep the Q&A box for questions. And we did have one question there regarding a reverse mortgage. Do you have to be paying a mortgage already in order to have a reverse mortgage?
Oh, that's an easy question, and the answer is no.
No.
About half our clients have a mortgage and they just want to get rid of that monthly payment, which is easy to do. But if your house is paid off, we can set up a line of credit for you, which is a wonderful way to have access to money, or just sleep at night to know that you've got money available if you need it, and then you only borrow it when you need it. I taught economics and finance for 10 years at university before getting into this business. So yes, only borrow money when you need it. But tapping into your home equity is wonderful with a reverse mortgage line of credit, and the rates are incredibly low now. I was telling my students years ago, get your home mortgage now. Rates are never going to be this low. I was wrong. These are the lowest ever. So now's the time to do it.
You can't predict rates, that's for certain.
For sure.
You think you've got a handle on it, you're the most wrong person on earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that line of credit, just to expound upon that, when Carrie talks about that line of credit, what that does is it puts this reverse mortgage on your property. The line of credit is just sitting there. So maybe even 5 years from now, you might decide that you need a hot water heater or your roof needs replacing. That's the time then you just actually take a draw against your line of credit. And until you do that, there's no balance on your loan if you didn't if that was the way you set it up. You only have a balance on that loan once you've withdrawn some money from your line of credit. So there's no interest in accruing or anything until you've borrowed some money against it. So it's a really good way to have real fast accessible funds sitting there at a super low interest rate, which in fact, but a reverse mortgage interest rates don't really matter anyway, because you don't make a payment. You don't have to. So anyway, it's an untapped resource there where there's so many options you can choose.
And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about it, I don't need it today, but if you set it up today, it's there for you. And unlike a home equity line of credit, for example,
never closed.
The reverse mortgage line of credit is guaranteed to be there. It cannot be foreclosed. It cannot be reduced. It cannot be called. And it continues to, the limit continues to grow over time, regardless of what happens to the value of your home. So even if home values crash in the future, and we know that they do, they will sooner or later, your line of credit will still be there for you. So it's setting it up now so that it's there for you in the future. Because if you wait until you need it, you know that's the year that home values are declining and you won't get as much money.
All great points. Thank you. Let me just go through some of the audience things here. Tom's made a great suggestion. There is an online resource, and we'll include it in the handout, called benefitscheckup.org. Benefitscheckup.org, all one word. And you can put in your area and it'll tell you all about the various different resources that are available. So I just brought it up quickly and yeah, it looks great. So probably definitely worth checking out. So thank you for that, Tom. And what else do we have?
Why don't you scroll down?
We talked about the Community Foundation of Western Nevada and the Legal Family series that they have. Thank you, Audrey. She said the series is ongoing now, so I don't know if you can jump into it or if it's too late, but again, we'll provide the link in the handout. And we have another question on reverse mortgage. Let's come back to that if we have time regarding equity. It's a more specific question, and maybe we can ask later if we have time. So let's just jump to the next category, which is, I'm looking at my watch, it's morning tea time. So yeah, food. I'm hungry. So let's talk about food for people who might be in a position where that's a challenge at the moment. What do we have available in our community that people perhaps aren't tapping into, whether it's for yourself or someone else you know who might be in need? Who'd like to start? Let's start with you, Brianna.
Okay. So one resource we have in the community is Meals on Wheels. They help deliver meals to homebound seniors. Normally they do ages 60 and up, but I have gotten people younger approved just based off of the need and just asking the question. They deliver weekly, so you get one hot meal the day that it's delivered and then 6 frozen meals up until your next delivery. And then they have periodic times where they'll just check back in with you to make sure you do still qualify. This is still a need just based off of the funds. And then another resource we have is the food bank. There are over 25 locations in Nevada. You don't always have to bring an ID. Sometimes you can just show up. Some locations do require an ID, but you can just check on that. And they have deliveries there's a different day of the week at all locations. They do have a mobile harvest program. I did see that that's on hold because of COVID, but in a non-COVID world, there is a mobile harvest program, which is like healthy foods, teaming up with local farms, and getting fresh meals out to the community.
We have a lot of food pantries in this area, and we should get a list and the materials for this talk today. If you have enough to eat, perhaps you can volunteer or donate to the pantries. But some of the pantries will deliver. If you have neighbors that you're concerned about, they're not getting healthy foods. I volunteer at St. Francis of Assisi Pantry, which is a healthy pantry. So they have a lot of good healthy foods, low sodium, good carbs, heart healthy food. So it's not just beans and rice anymore. If I can put out a plea, we're looking at potentially setting up a new pantry in South Reno. So if you are familiar with, if you know areas that have subsidized apartments or low income areas that could use pantry services, if you'll let me know, we're looking to set up one down at this end of the valley, because if you look on the list, almost all of them are in the North Reno area. And I know there must be clients down here.
Thank you, Kerry. And actually, Kerry emailed me the list of all the pantries, so we will include that in the handout. So that'll be in what you receive tomorrow via email. So I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add there. Let's again open it up to our attendees. If anyone has anything in the category of food in terms of untapped resources I'd like to add.
I came across a website just for prescription drug assistance the other day, rxassist.org. And apparently they issue a coupon that you can print to get a discount on your prescriptions. So it's rxassist.org.
Great, thank you, Debbie.
Also, the senior center, again, at 9th and Wells, does provide hot meals in-house. And again, if you don't need the meal, but maybe you know some neighbor that does, or a neighbor that just needs to get out and socialize, that's a good option.
Wonderful. Okay, let's jump to health and medical, and let's start with you again, Bree. You were telling me about Care Chest, so tell us more about Care Chest.
Yes, so Care Chest, the nice thing about Care Chest is they service all of Northern Nevada, so the rural areas too. So if you have a loved one out in Urington, Fernley, just those places that are harder to get to, they do service that area. They do ask if you want any kind of durable medical equipment, such as like a walker, a wheelchair, a scooter. They do ask for a $50 donation for the year, just so they could keep the program going. They're always looking at donations. They always have new things being donated to them. They're all in good use. Otherwise they wouldn't be giving them to you, but that's an option. They also have a $200 prescription assistance program for diabetic medication. So if you're having a hard time paying for your insulin or any other kind of diabetic medication, they do allow up to $200 towards your prescription cost a year. And then they also have a $100 prescription program for other medications, and that can go towards your copays for your med costs, but that's $100 for anything not diabetes related. They do rural outreach, like I mentioned, and they have lots of volunteer opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, let me talk about the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, the Aging and Disability Services Division, which is just wonderful. Your tax dollars at work. They provide a lot. I'm not going to go through the whole list of services, but if you're experiencing some difficulty, call them. They'll know how to help you. If you see a neighbor that may be suffering disability or some shortness, perhaps your neighbor is living alone and is starting to suffer dementia. If you're worried about them, call the Division of Aging Services. They can help you. I've you know, in our reverse mortgage business, I've had occasion to call them about clients who don't seem to be getting the services they need or are in trouble or whatever. They're really very helpful. It's a remarkably positive experience talking to them.
That's great. And we also have, and we've mentioned this before at our seminars, the Sanford Center for Aging for medication review. We recently had a client that went through the medication review because he was on a whole, oh my gosh, over 20 medications, and being able to go through those. So they go through, make sure, you know, if there's any cross or some things that may have caused or contributed to some dementia that he was having. So then he could take that review and actually could take it to his doctor and go over it and make sure that he's on what he needs to be on.
Yeah, that's a great program. So yeah, it's a pharmacist that's reviewing and knows the interactions of different drugs. And yeah, we've had cases where the person doesn't have dementia at all. It's just because they're on so many drugs. It's dementia-like symptoms. So yeah, if you're on more than maybe 4 or 5 drugs, it's definitely worth going and to that program. Again, that's through the Sanford Center for Aging at UNR, and yeah, the pharmacist will sit down and review the medications. Yeah, that's a really great untapped resource in the community. And yeah, and just what you were saying too, Kerry. Yeah, the Department of Health and Human Services, Aging and Disability, quite a mouthful. Yeah, but you don't have to have a disability. People have said, well, that's only for someone who's disabled. That's not the case at all. It's aging was in that title. So they have so many different programs. It's a great resource.
And
I think
they have an ombudsman that will act on behalf of seniors, and think about any seniors you know who may be being, I hate to say it, abused by their children, which is quite startling. And that's something people don't talk about, but the ombudsman has done good work there.
yeah, they have advocates for seniors. I think they
Yeah.
have help with taxes as well, similar to what Brianna
Yep.
was talking. They have lots of programs.
And the home services, when my mother was aging, I was looking for, how do I find somebody that can build a handicap ramp? They can give you some references.
Did anyone have anything else they wanted to add? Again, now I'll open it up to the audience, so feel free to raise your hand if you have something you'd like to contribute to this topic. And let me just go back and see what people have typed. So Julie, going back to food banks, has said that some of the food banks are actually doing mobile food distributions. Julie, if you know, Julie has said you can check the website with them for locations and times. Julie, if you happen to know what that website is, or any of our speakers.
Oh, it's fbnn.org. It's the Food Bank of Northern Nevada.org, and you can find the mobile food bank sites on that. And most of the several of the pantries are essential services, so they have been open throughout this whole COVID problem. So the food is available.
Thank you, Kerry and Julie. Kerry, can you just say that one more time slowly so we can write it down and everyone else? It was a mouthful, all those letters.
Okay, it's fbnn.org, and that stands for Food Bank of Northern Nevada.
Awesome, thank you. Got it. Excellent. So let's jump to our next category. This is a fun one, yeah. So social and entertainment. So there's some fun in here, and then there's also some essential services to help people. So Annette, you were going to start off.
I'll start off with essential services.
Yeah.
So Nevada COVID Aging Network, it's Nevada CAN. It basically came about in April to help with isolation because of the fact that we've been in our homes and not being able to get around to other people. You can call them up and they will have a volunteer call you once a week to check in with you, have a conversation, and if there's anything that you need, you just let them know, and then they have the resources to help connect you. Or if you just need somebody to talk to, because that's what they do, and it'll be the same volunteer every single week. And they also look for volunteers, so if that's something that you would like to participate in, you can do that as well. So that's the Nevada CAN, and it's completely free.
Yeah, and on that, so I don't know if we talked about it, we talked about the Truth series. So another great Untapped resource is we record all of these and make them available. And we actually had Dr. Peter Reed from the Sanford Center for Aging, along with, just going mentally.
His wife.
Dr. Jennifer Carson,
Yes.
and they talked extensively about the CAN program. It wasn't one of our regular seminars, it was more like a workshop in between, but we did record that. So again, we'll include the link, and that's another great place, and there were handouts and everything for it with resources for the CAN network for Nevada.
Mm-hmm. And now a fun one is meetup.com. So if you're looking for activities to do, if there's things that you really enjoy doing, if you like hiking or biking or quilting, whatever it is you like doing, but you'd like to do it with other people, then go to meetup.com and you can sign up, and they're all free. You sign up and they will let you know when they're meeting, and you just show up.
Yeah, did we say it was free?
It's free.
It's free. And pretty much all the events you go to are free, and we belong to several different groups there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can think of an activity, there's probably a group that do it.
And we actually love it because of the fact it gets us doing something that we hadn't really thought about doing. Like we enjoy bike riding, and so they'll have a meetup and they'll tell us about a bike ride that they're doing, and we will participate in that and learn about a new trail or new place to go.
Yeah, hiking, yeah, every kind of activity you can possibly think of.
Yes.
And if it's not on there, you can start a new group. uh, Bree, you were talking about what was it?
Gyms.
Silver.
Staying active. So another fun thing about staying social and just getting active, especially during this time where we're all stuck in our homes. You may not know that there are gym discounts. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, most of them offer a free gym membership. With Prominence, we have the Silver and Fit one. They do offer, most gyms offer Silver and Fit. Other plans have Silver sneakers. So ask your insurance if they offer a plan for you, or ask your local gym if they have a discount, so you can stay active, you're meeting other people at the gym, and keeping healthy that way.
So you mentioned the word discount. What other things should we be asking about for discounts?
Everywhere. You may not know that they have discounts. You go to the movies, restaurants, Walgreens has certain days of the week that they have senior discounts. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Just ask and say, do I get my senior discount? And they might just add it to your bill.
Or take it off your bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Northern Nevada has a lot of senior centers too. Most communities have a senior center, and it's worthwhile checking it out because they can be a lot of fun, especially if you're just looking for a reason to get out of the house. And I would encourage you to look into volunteer opportunities there as well, because volunteering keeps you healthy. I'm a big advocate of that. And just as a final note, talking about the social activities, many of the churches have reopened, so check with your parish or your church community to see if yours is open. The Catholic churches are all open for mass now with lots of people. Mine is serving 250 at a mass, so it's time to go back to church.
Yeah, you were talking about the fact that you didn't realize how much you missed church as far as the social aspect of it until it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just not the same with Zoom services. I hate to say it, but it just is so much better in person. So, yeah, get out, go back to church.
We are social creatures, aren't we? We need socialization and interacting with others.
And speaking of which, we were talking about more places for discounts would be going to the planetarium. So always ask the museums. We got the National Auto Museum and actually the Wilbur D. May Museum that's in Rancho San Rafael Park. Those have senior discounts as well. So reach out, let them know that you'd like a discount.
Actually, I'm curious, just by a show of hands, how many people have been to the planetarium up on the university campus? Ask what about our audience? Yeah, maybe a third have. That is a great thing to go and do. And then for the first time not too long ago, we went to the Automobile Museum. So if you're into cars, and even if you're not into cars, I'm not a big car enthusiast by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, that is just magical to go to the Auto Museum. And so both of those have discounts as well. So.
And the senior pass to the national parks, it's a one-time fee. I think it's $25 now. You can get it at the BLM office. But you can also apply for it online. One-time fee for the rest of your life gets you into all the national parks. I mean, you can't beat that.
You're talking about a one-time fee too with AARP.
Oh yeah, AARP. So show of hands if you're a member of AARP. I am. But someone told me, I think it was my mother-in-law, she said, don't pay the annual amount. You call them because they don't show it on their website or anything, but they have like a lifetime membership, and it wasn't very much. Maybe it was $100 or something, and it's for life. So yeah, I thought that was a great discount versus paying whatever the annual membership is. So, show of hands from the audience. Does anyone else have the annual a lifetime membership? Just curious. There's a couple. Yeah, not many at all. So yeah, if you are a member of AARP, I'm sure they'd happily upgrade you and it has lots of discounts in it as well. I'm always getting emails in the magazine with all different discounts on insurance and all sorts of things. So it's a great resource also. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. And so let me just, before we jump on to our next topic, I have several people here have made comments. Um, yeah, our communities, our retirement communities, they have lots of activities and so forth. Some of them are open, some are not, because of COVID and so forth, but they have lots of activities, day trips. So thank you, Joe, for mentioning that. And yeah, if you have a friend at a community, a lot of them will welcome you to come along and participate in the different activities and so forth. So that's another great one. What else do we have? So a good point. Someone did bring up, we're not advocating to go and be in groups of people. We are, have a pandemic we're dealing with. So when we're mentioning all of these, it's not necessarily for right now, but given we're doing this, hopefully when we get past this and there's a vaccine and things get back to a new normal, we just want you to be aware of the resources. So yeah, I wouldn't be, I don't go to the movies at the moment. I'd rather stay safe. So we're not saying everybody go and use a discount for the movies by any means. But just be aware when it's time to go to the movies that they do offer discounts for seniors that you may be aware of or may not be. And the same goes to church and so forth. So yeah, please be careful. The last thing we want to do is expose ourselves unnecessarily. So thank you for mentioning that, Elsa.
I have another thing to add to that.
Yes,
just
Brie.
for the gyms, sometimes even I know with Silver and Fit, they have home kits. So if you don't want a gym membership and you'd rather stay home and, staying healthy at home, social distancing, they can mail you 2 free kits a year. So you can pick, they have like a list of 20 different home kits with videos or bands or whatever is of interest to you. So you can work out safely from home as well. So at least you're staying active at home.
Thank you, Brianna. That's a great point. And,
Actually, you bring up a really good point because I do in-home fitness because when we first came here, it was in the wintertime and I did not want to travel to the gym early in the morning and be on the ice. So I use fitnessblender.com and it's completely free and they have all kinds of workouts and you just click on, the amount of time that you have to allot for that and what kind of workout you want. And they do low impact as well as high impact. So they give modifications, but fitnessblender.com, it's phenomenal. I never actually ended up joining a gym because it was so good. Just do it at home.
yeah, and then on that, so like Sanford Center for Aging, their Fit and Strong program, so they're not doing that in person at the moment. They'll get back to that, but they do that virtually as well. So it's probably over Zoom or something, but yeah, it's specifically for those of us who, in home, being able to participate in their programs. So let's move on to our next topic, and then I'll come back to some of the other comments people have typed in. And again, if you want to raise your hand, actually, I see some hands raised. So let me, before I go on, Amy, I've just unmuted you, Amy. Did you have something you'd like to contribute?
No, I was just saying I've been to the planetarium. That's why I raised my hand.
Sorry.
But hello and welcome to everyone.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Lots of great information.
Lower hand, so thank you. And let me jump to Stacy. I don't know if you had something to add, Stacy. Whoops. Stacy, do you want to unmute yourself? Did you have something, Stacy?
Yeah, I'm not really. I'm enjoying hearing all of this. I'm taking lots of notes myself.
Excellent. So you went to the planetarium as well, or raising your hand, and I forgot to lower hands.
We actually, the last time I went there as a child, we used to do field trips up there for schools, and I hadn't been for a long time. And interestingly enough, there was my granddaughter had a birthday party up there, and it was really, I loved it. It's worth the trip. It's an amazing experience.
Thank you, Stacy.
So is the automobile museum, because I mean, cars are great, but I don't know a lot about them, but they're really wonderful. And so is the Museum of Art. That's another good place to go. The Nevada Museum of Art downtown.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Stacey. Yeah, that should have been on our, actually it is on our list, but none of us thought to mention it. So that'll be in the handout. And yeah, the car museum, that is just so cool because yeah, it's like stepping back in time because they have cars going way back to the first cars, I guess. Yeah, it's just really cool just to see.
It is.
But don't ask me questions about cars because I.
No idea.
Yeah. And Claudia, I'm not sure if you were putting up your hand, but let me just unmute you if you had something. So Claudia, you can click there to unmute yourself. I think Claudia might have been raising her hand. So let me just lower hands, and if you do have something, yeah, just raise your hand again. So let's jump to our next category, which is transportation. So who would like to start with that?
I can start. I know one big resource that we use for rural Nevada is the Nevada RSVP program. They do normally need a little bit of a notice that you need a ride because they look into volunteers, but that's to get you to your doctor's appointments. If there's anything keeping you from getting to your appointments or the grocery store or anything like that, definitely look into that. Another option that people don't look into is Capital Cab and Reno Sparks Cab have wheelchair accessible cab rides. There is a cost associated, but I mean, if that's something that you struggle with, they do have wheelchair accessible cars. And then just think to ask your doctor's office if they have like taxi waivers, transportation assistance. A lot of Medicare Advantage plans offer a transportation benefit. With Prominence, we have transportation benefits. There's also St. Mary's teams up with Access to Healthcare for their vans and free rides for seniors. So there's a lot of new things coming out there.
Great, thank you, Bree. So what else do we have in this category? So yeah, RTC. So for those who aren't aware, hopefully most are, Regional Transportation Commission. Is that what RTC stands for?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. Have discounted taxi services, but a program and the bus service. So it's definitely worth looking at what transportation they offer. But a program that I was just alerted to that they've just started, they're doing a kind of like a pilot project with it, and that is using Uber. So those familiar with Uber, they're subsidizing it, and I think it's up to 75% of whatever the Uber fare is, and a maximum of $9. But that gets you pretty much around anywhere in Reno. Uber's pretty inexpensive. And they're piloting that and accepting people who want to participate. And the requirement is that you have a mobile device because that's how you end up scheduling your Uber ride from wherever you want to, from where you are to where you want to go. So that's definitely worth looking at for those who don't have a vehicle or don't want to drive and be able to still get around.
Anything else on transportation?
Did you have a couple of others you'd mentioned, Bree, or was that maybe I missed?
I think I rounded them all up. Just ask your doctor, ask your insurance company. There's always new things coming out every year, especially how technology is now. There's Lyft, there's Uber, there's always new resources coming to this community. So just ask is the biggest thing.
Thanks, Bree. So let's open it up to our audience again. Does anyone else have anything in the area of transportation that people may not be tapping into that would be helpful? And again, you just raise your hand and I'll unmute, or if you want to type it in. And just while we're giving people a chance to do that. So Julie had mentioned going back to fitness, working out and so forth. One we missed is YouTube for those people who are online. YouTube's a great resource with lots of workouts, videos that are free, strength training, all sorts of things. And I guess that's just a great resource for anything. If you're wanting to know how to do something, fix something, find something, there's a video on it. I know I use it a lot on.
So does my dad. It's interesting because he does a lot of projects, and growing up he always had the hardbound books and going through and teaching himself, and now he just goes onto YouTube and can pretty much learn anything how to do it.
Great resource. And so Jeanette also had a suggestion going back to social and entertainment. This is a great one. At the moment, the movie theaters, as you know, are struggling basically. But what they're doing is renting out the movie theaters if you want to rent one, and very inexpensively. So Jeanette had mentioned here you can rent a movie theater for up to 20 of your family, so people you feel comfortable with that you're normally with. That's quite a few people, 20. And I know...
our niece actually
Went
went to a birthday party at a movie theater, and they said it was $100 to rent the entire theater.
I did it a couple of weeks ago for my boyfriend's birthday, and we just had 6 of us. So, but we got to rent a movie, have actual, and the popcorn, all the concessions are discounted for it, but they clean everything, and there's only a couple of you then in the theater, and you can look at some. They're always getting new movies added to the list too. I think for like Halloween right now, they're adding some Halloween movies. So just something fun to get out and do. And I think most of the theaters are offering it now, like all the Galaxy, the IMAX theaters, and then just like the downtown theater, most of them are offering it.
That's very cool. How often do you have get a movie theater to your own? And if there's
Exactly.
6 of you, I'm sure you could be pretty well socially distanced there. So that wouldn't even
Yeah,
have to be
they're not
family. It
wrong.
could be some friends you haven't seen, and you can all be 6 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet apart. Right. Yeah, very good. So thank you, Jeanette, for that, bringing that up. Yeah, so do we have any hands raised? No, we're good. So let's talk about our next category, which is volunteering. So who would like to kick off all the volunteering opportunities we have here in the community?
Oh my gosh, there's such a need for volunteers. It's you can find something that interests you, and don't get discouraged if the first thing you volunteer for, wasn't what you thought it was. Keep looking. There's something for you. I'm a big advocate of the food banks, of course, because that's what I'm doing. The Food Bank of Northern Nevada needs volunteers. What's great about volunteering is you can typically sign up for an hour or two is all they need. So it's not like a full-time commitment. You don't have to dedicate yourself. You're not stuck. Show up. Like I say, the food banks always need people, either to stock shelves or to distribute food for things. I've volunteered at the main food bank out towards Fernley, and there you're just sorting things. When you donate a bag of food on a food drive, those all go to the food bank, and then we separate them out into, what's baked goods, what's canned goods, what's cereal, what's pasta, so that it can be distributed to the local pantries. It's a lot of fun. It's a great social occasion, and boy, you're really doing good work for the community. And if you're not getting your fitness routines off of YouTube, I can tell you, since I went back to working at the food bank, I've lost 15 pounds.
Wow.
So it's good
Congratulations,
exercise.
Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You get to help others and also lose weight at the same time.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Well, in most of the places we've talked about today, like Care Chest, the food bank, they're always looking for volunteers. So kind of like what Carrie was mentioning, look at what interests you, what you like to be a part of, anyone that's helped you out in the past. If you have friends that are wanting to volunteer, most places offer a volunteer program and are looking for the help.
And then also like the animal shelters, taking the dogs for a walk, they are looking for volunteers for that too. So you can spend some quality time getting some exercise and helping out the animal shelter and the pets at the same time.
I know a lot of the churches are looking for volunteers just to check on their congregation because nobody's going to church, and just a phone call to make sure that their parishioners or their congregation is okay. And so I know that the churches can use help with that. And it's just calling somebody on the phone. They'll give you a list of names to call just to check on them, see if they need anything. Because, we're all of a generation that is loath to ask for help. But if somebody calls and says and talks to you, it can make a big difference in their lives.
Great, Carrie. Thank you. And another one similar to that we talked about earlier was the Nevada, I'm going to get this wrong, the Nevada COVID Aging Network. Yeah, Nevada CAN. They also do the community outreach and want volunteers to be able to make those phone calls just like you were talking about. So I think there's quite a few organizations in the community that would like volunteers just for outreach. And I know Sanford Center for Aging, they have the senior outreach services, SOS, that I know some people here on the call are familiar with. So they also want volunteers. I think they're still doing it, not physically going out to homes, but again, via phone, reaching out, checking in, seeing what's needed and how they can help and keeping people engaged.
Yeah, and they were doing it, I'm not sure because of COVID, but they were giving rides too. So if you needed a ride, they would look for a volunteer in your area, so close, that lives close by to you, to be able to give you rides to different places. So that's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, it may be on hold now, but definitely in the future, I know they'll certainly get back to doing that. So yeah, let's take a moment. If anyone would like to contribute anything under volunteering, raise your hand or type it into the chat box, and let me just scan the chat box. Another place, Julie volunteers, Esther's Closet. They're a non-profit. Sorry, just scrolled off my screen. Let me just scroll back. I need glasses, just one moment.
Okay, I'll do it. They're a nonprofit that supports Hosanna Home for Women. It's an upscale women's boutique, and they have many wonderful clothes, and I can attest to that, and accessories. And if you have spent COVID downsizing or decluttering, all of the pantries, all of these closets, the Nevada Assistance League can take your donations. So Esther's Closet is on Green Bray and 4th in Sparks, and they support the Hosanna Home for Women.
Great, thank you, Kerry, and thank you so much, Esther, Julie, for bringing that up. And then Tom, in terms of volunteering, I assume this is for. Just think about the things you enjoy and where your area of expertise is. And I think you were saying something similar to me, Brianna, about the things that you enjoy. You'll find opportunities to volunteer. So Tom volunteers. Now, don't get excited, everybody, and rush out and do this, because Tom doesn't want competition, but he's on the Budget and Finance Committee for the Homeowners Association. So I'm guessing Tom likes numbers and finance, so yeah, it's a great way he can give back by being on that committee.
Yeah, Tom's part of our group at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, so yeah.
Hence why he likes numbers and finance. So
yes, yes.
There's an opportunity for everybody. Everyone has something to offer, based on their background. So, and let me just scroll down. Shelley, you can foster an animal at the Nevada Humane Society. So yeah, I know that's a big one, being able to foster an animal, give them some love. Then, yeah, the fostering situation is temporary. The animal will benefit from your care, and you'll have companionship of a pet. So yeah, that's another great way. Social, interacting, having a pet. Cats, dogs, and other small animals are available for fostering depending on what the current need is. I have volunteered for the Nevada Humane Society for 8 years. Oh, thank you so much, Shelley. And it's the best volunteer job I've ever been involved in. So, yeah.
Pretty cool.
And there are plenty of studies to show having a pet lets you live longer.
Most definitely.
And before we started this, we saw your pet on your lap. Stealing the show.
Let me check for hands. So Judy, I'm going to unmute you, Judy. So just accept the unmute, Judy, and then go ahead.
Oh,
you there, Judy?
Maybe you need to, can you unmute her yourself?
You should have it popping up on your screen, Judy. It'll be asking you to accept the invitation to unmute yourself. There you go.
I didn't want anything. I was just pushing buttons and I pushed the wrong button.
We're glad to hear from you, Judy.
Exactly. And that's the best way to learn. Just push buttons, click on things. That's how we all learn. That's a great way to experiment. So good for you, Judy, clicking on stuff. So let's talk about other. So let's just open this up. Audience, everyone here on the call, what other resources, untapped resources, have we not spoken about? So I'm going to start actually. On my desk, I meant to talk about this. So I don't know if people can see this guide I'm holding up. It's called the Community Resource Guide. I know at our seminars, Sarah Felice would always have copies of these for people. So some of the people attending who have been to our physical seminars in the past may have a copy. But this truly is a great resource. And it's, what, 80 something pages of, you probably can't read any of this. Who can read this? But of all sorts of wonderful resources in the community that's been tabulated, and it's done by one of our local churches, but they now have this available online. So we'll make sure we include that in the resources tomorrow. But it's a great resource just to have. Well, let me just open up a page. Center for Healthy Aging, Crisis Support Services, Senior Legal Helpline, Nevada Legal Services that Kerry was talking about, Nevada Disability Advocacy and Law Center, volunteer attorneys for rural Nevada. You kind of get the idea. There's medical, every category that we've covered, and then some. So that's a good one. One other one I would like to really give a plug to, I guess, is all of our sponsors that support the Retired Living Truth series. Our sponsors are so knowledgeable. They've all worked in the community for a long time. Bree, Carrie, Debbie, and all of our other sponsors, our sponsors at our communities, they're also knowledgeable. So if you ever are needing some resource, just reach out to any of our sponsors. And if they don't know the answer, I'm confident that they'll reach out to someone else and find you whatever it is you're needing. Because, yeah, they're just so well connected, and that's what they do. So, yeah, our sponsors are a great resource.
I think that's the nice thing about this community is there's always new resources coming out too. So there's always new things coming up. The Sanford Center, because they're through UNR, they're always getting new grants to try new programs out and looking for volunteers. So there might not be something just yet for the question or the thing that you're needing help with, but just ask and there might be a resource that's coming out.
That's great. You know, the other thing is that on our website, janellegroup.com, we have put in all the communities. We often get people asking that they want to move to a senior community, but they're not sure that where they're located, and they want to live near where they're currently living. So we actually mapped out all the communities, have put in all of their contact information so that you would have that as a resource.
Yeah, and I guess a good reason for going there, you can just get the information, whereas there's lots of sites that you can go on to looking for senior living communities, and they make you sign up, and then you get people calling you trying to sell you something. So this is just a great way to get the information, then you can reach out. And then just on that topic, I just want to quickly put up a poll on everybody's screen just for the upcoming seminars, which is kind of related. So everyone should have a poll that just popped up on your screen. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you'd like to register for our next seminar, which is on November the 17th, the truth about who should be on your team. So who should be on your team as we age? Who are the people that can help us? And then just going back to communities that we spoke about, we've been doing a series of virtual tours. So some of our communities are open and you can go in person and do a tour, others aren't. But we thought it'd be great for those who want to find out more about our communities to go and do a virtual tour. So we've done two so far. We did Clearwater at Ranchero, which was a lot of fun. And then I guess a week or so ago, we did a promenade down at the river, on the river, and we got to see all the great views of where it's located in downtown. And so we have 3 more coming up before we end the year. On October the 22nd, we're going to do a tour virtually of Cascades of the Sierra. So that's the independent living, assisted living, and memory support. And then on November the 5th, we're going to go and hang out with our friends at Revel Ranchero with Barbara and Lauren there. And then on December the 3rd, we're going to go over to Morningstar and visit with Amanda and Leanne and learn about what each community has. So it's just a great way from home to be on a Zoom type call like this and learn about the community. And hopefully when we can do things in person next year, we'll get on the bus like we did last year and go and visit and sample their food and go for a swim and whatever else we might be able to do. So I'll just leave that up. So let's go back. Any other resources, again, from our attendees, from you guys that we'd like to share that we've missed? So Julie, thank you. So thank you, Julie, for being here. She was asking, are there any discounted handyman services for seniors?
I actually just Googled this in the background, and it looks like AARP actually has a housing maintenance and low income senior program for handyman work. So I would look into that.
And how did you find that? You just Googled handyman?
Google.
Yep. And it came up under AARP that they'll connect you to perhaps discounted services?
Yep.
And then, so Care Chest was one you'd mentioned, if not so much handyman services, but that's worth reiterating.
But sometimes they also get like wheelchair ramps or modifications to your home, as long as it's a 2 to 3 steps getting into your home. If you're having a hard time ambulating with that now and have a walker, and that's something from keeping you from leaving your house or going into your home, sometimes they get wheelchair ramps that are donated and for no cost. So 2 to 3 steps, as long as that's all it is to get into your house, they can help you there.
Brianna, you had also mentioned one where if somebody like getting a water heater, some needing funds for that.
That was the weatherization program I kind of mentioned earlier with Community Services Agency. We did help one member a couple of years ago now, but she had just reached out and said, this is something that I have no hot water, and we reached out to Community Services Agency and we were able to get them a new water heater at no cost. So just asking is the biggest thing, and opening up. You might not think that there's a resource out there, but there very well might be.
Thanks, Brianna. Anyone else? Especially our audience. So it's 10 past 11. We always like to be finished by 11:30, but if we don't have more, then we can certainly end our call earlier today.
Ruth had about.
Oh yes, we had a question. Yeah, Ruth had asked. So let's jump back to that. The question was, is the equity, so this is, I think, related to reverse mortgage, is the equity we tap into the amount we paid on our original total house cost if we had paid off our mortgage?
The simple answer is that a reverse mortgage is a loan, and the question is, how much money can I get? It depends on the value of your home, your age. If you're older, you get a higher percentage, and the interest rate on the particular reverse mortgage you take. The lower the interest rate, the more money you get. Just to reiterate, this is a federally regulated program, so HUD tells us lenders how much we can lend to you. So, and just a basic rule of thumb, if you're 62 or older, if you're 62 years old, think about, we can lend you about 40% of the current value, market value of your home. And so you can do the math. If you're older, you get more. If the interest rates go down, you get more. But that's kind of a thumbnail sketch. If you go to our website, we do have a little calculator that you can download, a little app that you can download to your phone, and that will tell you specific to your circumstances. Or call Debbie or call me, call any reverse mortgage lender, and they can tell you specifically how much you can get for your particular circumstances. And that's one of the nice things about talking to somebody in person. You can call Tom Selleck's company. He's a great advocate for reverse mortgages, but I will tell you, if you call his number, Tom's not going to answer the phone. But Debbie and I will, and we'll be happy to talk to you face to face, or mask to mask, as it were, or over the phone, and give you specific information. But if you want to do just a quick thumbnail back of the envelope calculation, that's 40% is kind of a good number.
And it does depend on your age. So yeah, feel free to call either one of us. And there's absolutely no kind of obligation. We just give you information.
Mm-hmm.
And if you decide you want to move forward and get more information, then, we get more serious about it. But please don't hesitate to call us, because we're just here to give you education and to give you information. And we're here if you decide to move forward with it too.
Great. Thank you so much, Debbie and Kerry. And so I'm just curious, from our audience, you're all being very quiet at the moment. I was hoping for more hands of suggestions, but I'm just curious as to whether everybody has got at least one thing out of this, just by a show of hands. Did you learn one resource that you weren't aware of? Okay, there's one person. So, no, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of hands that have gone up. So it looks like a lot of people have learned something from today, and that's the whole goal of doing this.
I think the biggest lesson from today is just ask.
Mm-hmm.
My funny story this week was going through the drive-through at Carl's Jr. and trying to talk to the guy over the scratchy microphone. And I finally I said, look, I can't understand what you're saying. I'm an old lady. I can't hear you. This is what I want. I drove up to the window, and just because I had told him I was an old lady, I found I got the senior discount on my receipt. So I didn't even think to ask.
I love that. I wonder if I can get away with that. Put my old lady voice on and see if I get free fries or something, or through the drive-through.
Well,
Yeah.
older men
But
get.
just-
Oh, the man. Yeah, but I don't know. Have a sweet
Just
spot for
ask,
all the
you're
ladies.
entitled, you're entitled.
Entitled.
You know, you've paid taxes all your life. We're sure you've helped people, other people all your life. And it promotes their business. Otherwise they wouldn't give the discount, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, great point. Thank you. So thank you for everyone who put their hands up. I don't see any more questions. So I just want to thank everybody who's joined us today. A special thanks to Carrie, Debbie, and Bree for the great information you have shared. Our next seminar again is on November the 17th, the truth about who should be on your team. If you weren't able to do it online, just call us or go onto the website and register for that. And that will be our last seminar for the year. We do have all of our dates for next year starting in January. We hope to be back at our venue, socially distanced, but we will do these via webinar at the same time. We'll be in person and broadcasting. So whatever makes the most sense for you, depending on where we're at and how many people we're allowed to have in the room, which could be 0 in January, who knows. Any other closing comments?
No, just thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We're always learning and learning from each other.
And then just, I guess the last thing is, yeah, just look for an email tomorrow morning around this time. We'll compile everything this afternoon, get that into a format that you can download or access, and there'll be an email with how to get to that this time tomorrow morning. So thank you so much, everybody, on behalf of everyone on the call. Thank you, and wishing you all an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.